Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Rogue Trader with me, Rykad. Let's get off this planet. Thanks be to the Emperor you are alive, your lordship. We're most gratified by your return, and the crew is full of zeal to carry out any orders you may have. For anything else, I'll hear an account of what happened to the system's son. Boxmaster falters. Lord Captain, we saw a number of ships approach the sun. Black creations of inhuman make, amalgams of sharp angles and edges. They surrounded the star and then... My apologies, but I struggle to find the words that could describe that terrible sight. Xenos made the sun vanish into the void. The interrogator closes his eyes and grimaces. Drukhari. Diablard's expression changed, as if a shadow has suddenly fallen over him. He rubs his temple warily, as if we did not have enough troubles on our hands already. The Xenos, enemies of humanity. Heinrich nods. A raid of the Eldari, the most cruel and devious of their kind. The design of their ships matches the description provided by the Boxmaster. Like all Xenos, the Drukhari are a blight on the face of the galaxy, but their technological superiority is indisputable. They abhor and fear warp sorcery, which is why they rely on creations of their twisted intellect. And many of those creations are capable of things that may seem akin to sorcery to the unenlightened eye. The theft of a sun is one example of what they are capable of. They just go put it in their city of Aura. The sadistic branch of the Eldari race that revels in piracy, violence, and torture allows them to feed upon the psychic residue of their victims' suffering. Are the Xenos in league with Aurora's cultists? No. We can rule out that possibility. The Drukhari would never ally themselves with the arch-enemies worshippers. If I had to name one thing that humanity and these Xenos have in common, it would be a shared loathing for warp corruption. Heinrich glances around. The situation calls for immediate action, Donnie Dawson. We can continue this conversation later if you so wish, but right now, he gestures at the deck teeming with tumultuous activity. I believe you should assume command. What is the current situation on board? The Navigator's sanctum is no longer empty, but the warp engine is still refusing to obey the engine seers. Without it, we cannot perform a warp jump. Haskell's voice buzzes anxiously from his box. It may be angry, or perhaps it is lamenting the injuries it has suffered. I will immediately initiate preparations for a prayer service. If the Omnissiah grants me comprehension, I will appease the machine spirit of this vessel. Why do you not send a shuttle to the planet for me? I do apologize, your lordship, but we were unable to receive your request for evacuation. Voxlink was overrun with vile interference, screams, blasphemous hymns, and other equally sinister noises. Any who listened to the interference for a protracted period lost their sanity. Several dozen operators went mad monitoring the Voxcaster in the hope of hearing your voice. Each one of them waited in vain. What is happening on the planet now? Our augur operators are reporting numerous uprisings and other manifestations of the arch-enemy's powers at various locations on the planet. Based on the fragments of communications picked up by our Vox operators, there's practically no resistance being offered by the governor's forces. Millions of people are converting to the blasphemous Final Dawn cult en masse, assembling in prayer circles. Do we have any hope of retaking the planet? I fear that Rykad Minoris is lost. The situation is deteriorating by the minute. We must leave this system as soon as possible. However, there are still people on the planet who have not succumbed to heresy and who are worthy of rescue. Besides a small number of our own shuttles, we also have the shuttle salvaged from the starport. The dark eyes of the Sister of Battle flash. We must save as many as we can. This has all happened for a reason. Saint Argenta, whose name I carry with reverence and trepidation, is famed for saving the people of a dying world through the power of prayer. The God Emperor himself sent a star from the heavens that lifted the saint and her followers up to the sky, away from corruption and death. We must do as she did, Direct all our efforts to saving those people who at this moment look to the heavens in hope of salvation. The lives of peasants are of little value. Our prime objective is to save the Holy Relic, the miraculous fusion reactor, the electro priests who guard and tend to it. Abelard furrows his brows. Every moment we spend in proximity to a dying world, we're putting ourselves at risk. Your life, Lord Captain, is far more valuable than all of Rykad Minoris. The Von Valancius dynasty cannot be allowed to perish, and so, lamentable though it is, we must rule out the idea of any evacuation. Heinrich's eyes, like two deep dark pools, are resolutely fixed on you. The world is doomed, and its inhabitants along with it. The disappearance of the star was the final nudge toward death, the finale of the cult of the Final Dawn's plans. I once witnessed a similar event, a world that had surrendered to the servants of the arch-enemy and permitted corruption to enter too deep. At this moment, millions of people are bowing down before those who promised them salvation, and they are willingly giving over their souls to chaos, a sacrifice great enough to bring forth a demon world. Our only hope of stopping this process is to retreat to a safe distance from the planet and conduct targeted bombing of the Electro Priest Monastery. If we blow up the reactor, a thermonuclear reaction will follow. The world's oxygen will evaporate, killing off the entire biosphere. In doing this, we will save millions of souls from a fate far worse than death, and we will save Rykad Minoris from becoming an outpost of the arch-enemy. Only death can rescue these people. The dying one has reached out his hand to this world. It is time for him to reap his harvest. We must not reject his design, lest millions of names never reach him, and instead perish in the depths of the Imperium. Death is a mercy, Dom and Donnie Dawson. Man, this would be a good dogmatic run for sure. Whatever fate you choose for this world, I urge you to make haste, Lord Captain. The planet is burning in raging flashes of crimson and purple. I can see it even from orbit. As I do see that the storm is already upon us. With every moment that we waste, it grows ever more difficult and perilous to steer the ship through the warp's turbulent currents. I'm with the lady on this. Enough talking. We need to get out of here while we still can. Something lurking in the depths of your consciousness bristles at the passing thought of saving people. The spike of horror you feel takes your breath away. It is as if you are planning to steal the prey of a mighty predator. The planet is already wrapped in a thread stretching out from the warp. It deserves to have a new master. Why can we not try to evacuate at least some of the people? For the simple reason that the transformation process will soon become irreversible, and our sole weapon against it useless. The energy released by the bombardment could stoke the warp energies. I've never witnessed the aftermath of bombing a demon world before, but there's enough evidence of such attempts for me to say with confidence that you do not want to see it. Which of the planet's inhabitants can we evacuate? The nobles you rescued at the starport have given the coordinates of shelters where we can find surviving aristocrats and their families. As for Sergeant Malgar's troops, they'll help to control the crowds of frightened commoners and prevent the shuttles from being overloaded. Thanks to you, we have salvaged many shuttles from the starport that we can now use. I have the pilots extract all of the commoners who have not yet converted to the cult of the Final Dawn. Any delay caused by loading and transporting to the ship will cost us precious time. Do not deceive yourself, Donnie Dawson. If you indulge your vanity, you'll doom billions to eternal torment at the hands of the arch-enemy. I must do as I see fit. Perhaps I am acting foolishly in the Inquisition's eyes, but that is my decision to make. You detect a flicker of something beneath Heinrich's sanguine mask. Anger? Bitterness? Whatever it may be, it does not seep into the interrogator's dispassionate voice. In that case, I consider it necessary to point out that the mark of the arch-enemy could infiltrate the ship, along with any rescued people. Keep that in mind for the future. Consider it done. It is likely our shuttles will have capacity to evacuate more people. The miraculous fusion's reactor must be saved. Consider it done. So bring us to the limit of our capabilities. We have no more shuttles to use in the evacuation effort. Sorry, nobles. The bridge is in upheaval. The Technomat's prayers mix together in a senseless cacophony while servitors work hastily to remove a hardened crust of sacred unguents from the warp engine's components. In the middle of all this tumult stands Pascal, with the data slate clutched in his hands, seemingly disconnected from the flurry of activity around him. What is going on here? The warp sextant is not responding to commands. The ship's spirit is rejecting our prayers in anger. I'm currently calculating a plea that might appease the noble spirit. Magus, why don't you assume control of the Technomats? Surely the contribution will speed things up. It would only be a hindrance. I'm searching for a way to rectify the error. Pascal is muttering without taking his eyes off the data slate. There's a certain anxiousness in the way he moves with his mechadendrites. Magus, if you do not bring the situation under control, we will all perish. Act swiftly. Pascal shoots you a look of fierce pride, and says with gravity, "You're right. This is my temple." His vox booms with power. Tech comrades, heed my instruction. The mayhem immediately subsides, and the crew's actions fall into some indiscernible logic. The Omnissiah servants start working in sync. The binaric clamor becomes a symphony of reports, which the Magus coordinates like a skillful conductor. Admirably done, Pascal. The Omnissiah guides me. The prayers of the tech priest surrounding the cogitator almost drown out the sounds of the bustling bridge behind you. Pascal, poring intently over the data slate in his hands, extends a mechadendrite toward you. Please take your place at the cogitator, Lord Captain. I'll first explain what we were doing. I studied the data and discovered a machine node that was damaged as a result of the heretic sabotage. The functioning of the warp sextant was tampered with, and the ship's spirit, aggrieved by this violation of the right of operation, is now rejecting its calculations. I sought a way to rectify this error, and have concluded that your participation is necessary to do so. The cogitator system of this temple of the Omnissiah are subordinate to the shell whose repository serves the machine we see before us. A machine created for your predecessor, and one that uses the biological signatures of dynastic blood in its computations. The spirit should recognize the ship's master, but submit to his will. Should. Pascal speaks the final word with a slight tremor in a synthesized voice. That should sounded less than reassuring. Lord Captain, comes a crackle from Pascal's box, part beleaguered sigh, part interference. I am still poorly acquainted with this void ship. The acolytes here have adopted their own customs for conversing with the machine spirits. They do not know me, and they express themselves in a little-known dialect of Technolingua. I'll trust in the Omnissiah that my analysis of the data was correct. It means we have a chance of appeasing the ship's spirit. Step up to the cogitator. The huge machine in front of you is lit with dozens of vid screens and hundreds of lumens. The blinking lights and endless rush of symbols and digits on the green background make your eyes water, and a vague sense of alarm simmers in the depths of your mind. The typical reaction of a layperson when confronted with the magnitude of the Omnissiah's creation. Among the numerous controls you see the mouth of a cyber gargoyle, same as at the gate to the warrant chamber. Pascal's voice becomes imbued with imperious force. Servants of the machine god, heed my command. Acolytes, prepare the incense instrumentation for the liturgy of machine spirit propitiation. Senior Technomats, recite the prayer to generate a current data report. Operations will be marked with the campanological protocol, Omnissiah Rejoice. I must inform you that for the purposes of safety, complete reassembly of the warp sextant and updating of its data smith blessings are required. If this is not done, then at launch the volume of aggregate calculation errors could result in the destruction of the data crypts. But as we do not have 100 hours at our disposal, we must omit this procedure. Pascal looks down at the data slate in his hands. A minor deviation from the right of operation for the sake of appeasing the spirit. What must I do? Place your hand inside the throat of the cogitator guardian, the cyber gargoyle, which has been assigned to guard the forbidden data crypts. The dynastic blood extracted from your veins will serve as a key to the data core, where the machine spirits dwell. To it we will offer our prayers so that we may bypass the protective protocol for defective connections and launch the warp sextant. Pascal's voice grows quieter. The laws of the Omnissiah know no exceptions, and so in this ritual, I'll remain at your side to placate, I would say placate, the wrathful machine spirit in whose abode you will be intruding. Follow my liturgies, Lord Captain, and may we receive his blessing. Deviating from the rite of operation. That sounds dubious, especially coming from you. Dogma bids that the appropriate rituals of cleansing and reassembly be carried out on the Warp Sextant. It is a long and labor-intensive process. Pascal hesitates before continuing. Our best chance is to bypass the sacred prohibition on directly interfacing with the conduits of the motive force. A faster and less orthodox route. The lives of the entire crew now depend on my convincing the ship's spirit to start up a broken component. Is that right? Your interpretation is verging on tech heresy. However, given your rank, Lord Captain, I'll nevertheless respond. For a layperson, you described our position with relative accuracy. I place my hopes in his revelations and humbly ask for his guidance. Listen, can you do all of this without me? I'm no servant of the Omnissiah, after all. This statement is true. In another temple of the Omnissiah, only his servant would be able to appreciate the machine spirit. However, the architects of this vessel's infrastructure made unsanctioned changes to the standard structure of the Cogitator network. Displeasure creeps into Pascal's voice. To equip the bridge with a machine that would permit its use by laypeople with a specific biological signature, members of House von Valancius. Now place your hand in the cyber gargoyle's mouth. Metal jaws clamp down on your hand, breaking your delicate corporeal sheath and releasing warm red liquid into its gullet. At the same moment, the image on the vid screen before you changes. Connecting 0000.1. Connecting 0000.2. Connecting 0000.3. Success. Register 789.0344. Access init. Initiate. ID 8627. Nomos. Operate. Respect. Act. A gesture at the vid screen. What does it all mean? At the sound of your voice, the Cogitator's servant, whose bronze-bound skeleton is built into the Cogitator housing, shudders. With a screech, its skull rotates toward you, and then stops in that position. Benevolent code, a voice receptor. Pascal emits a sequence of binaric signals, and then is silent for several seconds. I hypothesize that the defect is located in the analyzer block. I register a reaction to the signal, but no processed response. A temporary override is permissible. The Magus intently studies the vid screen. The shell was created on a forge world unknown to me, initiating standard invocation of the machine spirit. Pascal leans over the adjacent instrument panel and sets his hands on the controls. At the same time, a quiet stream of machine code begins pouring forth from his vox. What should I do now? Lord Captain, I now ask you to address the machine spirit. Speak the following command. By my authority, I revoke the inviolability protocol of the warp engine. The voice receptor will receive the vocal entry. Without your sanction, machine spirit will not accept the data from the warp sextant. I reach out and touch the keys on the instrument panel. Input, @comp, nomos, stab true. Login, strength check, initiate, sector 567, greater than 245, dam, sector 244 is greater than 001, stab, nomos, operate, respect, act. Lord Captain, Pascal stops and then continues more calmly. Please, you anger the machine spirit before we have removed the restriction. By my authority, I revoke the inviolability protocol of the warp engine. One of the Cogitator's vid screens turns red. Pascal sees this and raises his hand, signaling to the rest of the tech priests, then withdraws a connector from his sleeve and connects it to the machine. Servants of the Omnissiah, make now the offering of cleansed data crypts in the machine's spirit, so that it may be filled with their true and calibrated data. May the Omnissiah have mercy on our souls. In meek solemnity, the Acolytes offer up the cleansed data crypts to the warp engine one after another, repeating prayers of exaltation. After anointing the contacts with sacred unguents, Pascal inserts them into the Cogitator slots. Your head begins to spin from the holy censer's foul-smelling clouds of smoke, and from the loss of the blood that the cyber gargoyle continues to drink from you. and the world swims before your eyes. Now this mechanism awakened in renewed purity. Pascal enters a sequence of commands and raises his head, watching the vid screens. Suddenly, he stops dead. No. His fingers fly over the command runes, entering command after command. His mechadendrites, clicking their pincers, pull at one lever after another. The vid screens fill with strings of symbols, completely incomprehensible to you, but clearly conveying something to the Magus. Is everything alright, Magus? After a few seconds, one of the data crypts mounted on the cogitator begins to emit sparks. A moment later, another data crypt does the same. The next bursts into flame and gives off foul-smelling smoke. Around you, the Omnissiah servants break off from their prayers, and someone bursts into frantic pleading. Pascal mournfully grates out. The massive errors in the Warp Sextant's calculations is destroying the data repositories. The offering did not appease the ship's spirit. The warp engine cannot be filled with the motive force. We're trapped. A moment later, the Magus continues uncertainly. Perhaps an alternative Ryzen protocol, or an emergency launch of the auxiliary coils. The Tech Priest bends over the cogitator, but something in his pose and movements reveals his desperation. While the other vid screens are filled with more and more strings of symbols, the monitor in front of you blinks and its static image changes. Pascal is too engrossed in his ritual to notice. I read the information on the vid screen. Input, pat comp, nomos, stab true, nomos, stab false, stat, check, initiate, disturb reg, nomos, operate, resp, query. Magus Hanuman, a moment, if you will. Pascal turns toward you, his flickering visor betraying his anxious state. Lord Captain, He stops short when he sees the vid screen. Distorted transmissions from the data core. Most likely, the residual cognitive functions of the built-in servitors. Omnissiah, shield us from machine ghosts. He returns to manipulating the cogitator's command runes. Machine Spirit, can you hear me? The cogitator's servant creaks quietly in its joints, a sound that is drowned out by the binary hymns and the tapping of command runes. Input prompt, nomos ping, nomos rec resp, nomos operate resp injury, nomos operate resp rescue, nomos operate resp query. Rescue? Yes, Machine Spirit, rescue us. Pascal turns to you. Lord Captain, the excess emotion in your command will render it unintelligible to... Pascal's next vocalization goes unsynthesized, as he sees the vid screen begin to stabilize one after another. The strings frenetically galloping across his green background are replaced with stable images or regularly updating status reports. Only one monitor remains inexplicably red. Tech Priest Vox crackles in shock, but his report is as clipped and clinical as ever. Registering. Warp Sextant active. Activated. Registering. Data stream stabilizing. Registering. Zero data errors found. Reporting. The warp engine is ready for translation. After a pause, Pascal adds, I'm also reporting evidence indicating a Category 3 miracle fulfilling the criterion. Thou shalt witness the mechanism that toils in glorification of its function, and in defiance of deactivation. Now, Lord Captain, Gravor here. The crew are almost finished carrying out the orders given earlier, and I've just received confirmation from the engineering halls. I don't know what you did, but the warp engine's up and raring to go. We're ready to begin the translation to the warp, Your Lordship. What just happened? Pascal pauses. I hypothesized that the ship's spirit heard our prayers and intervened. It summoned the power of the Omnissiah to do something beyond my comprehension. I know little of the Omnissiah's sacred machines, but what I saw on the screen looked strange. A non-standard output of information lost in the data core. The servitors used as data conduits are not always fully lobotomized. Fragments of their thoughts can appear even in pure code. Pascal falls silent, immersed in thought. It appears the Omnissiah perceives and knows the power of your faith, Pascal. You would not have worked this miracle otherwise. I hope you will grant me a revelation that will allow me to comprehend the nature of this miracle. Pascal's vox buzzes with wonder and an undercurrent of exultation. Contact Ravor. The Lord Captain speaking. I give the order to commence translation to the warp. I'm waiting for you to ascend to the waiting for you to ascend the Captain's throne, Lord Captain. May the Emperor protect us.
Von Valancia's flagship made its way out of the doomed star system. As the void shift plunged deeper into the Coronis expanse, the rogue trader's subjects bid a formal farewell to the late head of the dynasty, Theodora von Valancius. Having paid their last respects, the crew gathered their strength and braced themselves for whatever was to come next.
I noticed my microphone was muted. Alright, let's start again. Lord Captain, allow me to report. Our journey through the warp is coming to an end. Lady Navigator Orcelio informs me we have reached the point where we can translate to real space in the Furibundus system. The Lady Navigator and her pilots are awaiting your permission to begin the process. The Furibundus system is home to Footfall, the only Imperium outpost with a functioning wharf in the Coronis expanse. The tech priests are begging you to have mercy on the machines worn down by the warp, and allow the servants of the Omnissiah to inspect and heal the void ship's wounds on the dock. The prayers and rituals will take some time, which our astropathic choir will use to establish a connection with the prime worlds of your protectorate, Gargonis, Yanis, and Kialva Gamma. Master Zachary Weiss has recovered an invitation previously adrift in the Immaterium. The Legion of Footfall has humbly requested an audience with the rogue trader of the Von Valancius dynasty. According to Master Zachary, the message was tinted with shades of pleading. I quote, apparently the Liege is anxious to meet as soon as possible. Footfall, the place where filth and sanctity go hand in hand. Reverend Hieronymus Doloroso most likely expect a visit from me. I imagine he'll be interested in talking to you as well, Donnie Dawson. I'll be leaving your void ship when we arrive on Footfall, Donnie Dawson. Once that is done, consider the Lord Inquisitor's task complete. Your Lordship, young Yvain Witterscale has asked me to convey his gratitude for your hospitality and for saving him from certain death. Not wishing to outstay his welcome, he plans to disembark at Footfall. Lord Yvain swears he will not forget his debt to you. I hereby inform the rogue trader that during a comprehensive system inspection right, his unit discovered data clusters within the captain's cogitator that are concealed from prying eyes by means of a personal cipher and a sacrament of algorithmic authorization. Unit Donnie Dawson von Valancius has been added to the access list and assigned the identifier Keeper 2. The unit can access the data from the captain's cogitator, provided that he possesses the decryption key. You detect a hint of something resembling curiosity in Pascal's mechanical voice. Thank you once again for rescuing my squad, Rogue Trader. We'll disembark on Footfall. The trail of evidence leads to the docks. It wouldn't hurt to pay the Liege a visit. I'm sure he will graciously extend his cooperation to the Arbites. Are you leaving us, Heinrichs? The arrangement between the Lord Inquisitor and your predecessor was that I be transported to Footfall and no farther. I dare not take advantage of your generosity and patience any more than I already have, Donnie Dawson. You're a skilled fighter. I could use people like you. What do you say we extend your stay in my retinue? Thank you for your offer, but I must decline. I'm afraid my duty to the Golden Throne comes before everything else. Solomorn, is there any assistance I can provide in your investigation? Right at this moment, unlikely. We have a considerable amount of dirty and routine work ahead of us, such as checking cogitator logs and questioning the station's residents, including its less palatable individuals. None of that is worth the Rogue Trader's time, I assure you. Still, if the circumstances change, I'll absolutely welcome the aid of such a dependable ally as yourself. Argenta, who is this Reverend Hieronymus who wants to talk to me? He's head of the Drusian mission on Footfall, and one of the most prominent clergymen in the sector. Paying him a visit is a good thing for any loyal servant of the Emperor to do. I assisted his mission before I joined Lady Theodora on her voyage. I need his blessing to accompany the new Rogue Trader of the Von Valancius dynasty. If you wish to have me aboard your void ship, I request that we meet with Reverend Hieronymus. The shed blood has washed away the taint from our bodies. It is only right that we now wash our souls with the blessings of the servant of the Undying One. The Drusians, like the blood-spun web, are devoted to asceticism, rejecting wealth and luxury and surrendering themselves to his service. Though their threat is different from ours, First Spinner spoke of them with respect. Victus, tell me about the system we are arriving in. Furibundus is valuable due to its close proximity to the Maw, the gateway to the Imperium. The system is mostly known for Footfall, the main base for merchants, privateers, and rogue traders traversing the Coronis Expanse. Additionally, the star itself is orbited by an Adeptus Mechanicus station, which is off-limits to outsiders. Altar Templum Calixus Ext 17. I had the honor of tending to this shrine for a few thousand cycles. I suggest you abstain from visiting it, as most tech comrades at the station are engaged in meditative calculations that should not be interrupted. What do I need to know about Footfall? It is the largest port and the trading capital of the Coronis Expanse. It has a dockyard that will allow us to inspect and repair the void ship, and it boasts its own astropathic choir. The Coronis Expanse Communications Nexus. Not to mention pirate hideouts, smuggler caches, and forts belonging to a dozen gangs, groups, and factions. In the Coronis Expanse, the Imperium relies on this as its outpost. The fringes of humanity's domain rarely resemble its central worlds. As long as Footfall serves the God Emperor, insofar as it can, it will be considered a citadel of the Imperium. Although I have heard that the tithes it sends are underwhelming, to say the least. Due to Footfall's remoteness, it has developed its own rules and customs. Many of the goods that can be procured there would be considered heresy in the heart of the Imperium, enough to warrant summary execution. Moreover, Footfall is the domain of the rogue traders, who transcend certain Imperial laws by virtue of the warrant they bear. Footfall is just a brief stop. What next? As soon as we resolve the issues plaguing this ship and establish contact with the key worlds of your protectorate, the time will come for your Magnae Accessio, the official ceremony of donning the mantle of the rogue trader. It is mostly a formality at this point. You already possess all the privileges granted by the warrant. And yet it is a major milestone in your personal history, the moment your name graces the list of heads of the Von Valancius dynasty. We're all looking forward to that day, Lord Captain. Abelard, you know anything about the Liege of Footfall? Vladame Takara is a very peculiar young man. Consider your upcoming conversation a baptism of fire in Footfall's political arena. Such things are not spoken out loud. The Liege Takara is the appointee of the Casbalic Commission, the largest robber baron crime syndicate in the Calixtus sector. They specialize in the cold trade, the buying and selling of all kinds of Xenos rubbish, so the legal trade of commodities and artifacts of Xenos origin. Footfall was previously run by a liege who did business with several criminal factions at once, but he suffered an accident. The reins of power were picked up by Vladame Takara, whose appointment benefits not only the Casbalica, but also the most powerful ally in the Coronis Expanse. Rogue Trader Caligos Winterscale. Ladame is a slippery yet very cautious fellow. He does not usually beat around the bush, and does not play mind games. Perhaps more importantly, he is no fool. Fools do not rise this high in the Caspalican hierarchy. Keep all this in mind. You are a rogue trader. You stand above him in status and wield considerable power. Having said that, history has seen cases where the Caspalican barons cross swords with rogue traders and emerge victorious. Do not forget that, and remain vigilant. Caspalica. Vile tech thieves. Haskell's Vox barks out the last word like a profanity. Why does the Liege want to see me so badly? Not you personally. He wishes to meet with the rogue trader at the house of the Von Valancius dynasty. Picard does not know about Lady Theodora's death, and is simply seeking an audience with the powers that be. My gut is telling me that something must be very wrong with Footfall, for Astropath managed to read such strong emotion, such an anodyne message. We have no information, Lord Captain. Broadcast from the Footfall Astropathic Choir was the only missive Master Zachary has received lately. Tell the Lady Navigator I give her leave to make the translation from the warp into real space. Victus begins issuing instructions. The massive ship appears to change with her every word. The bridge is set in motion as hundreds of people start to prepare for the shift to real space, and measured chanting fills the corridors to safeguard the vessel and its crew. Victus turns to you again. One more thing, Lord Captain. No one at the station knows about Lady Theodora's demise, and you inheriting the title. Liege Drukhari will be informed. It is required so we can use the dock, and besides, he is expecting a personal audience with the rogue trader. He will not meet with an unknown person of unclear standing. However, there is still the matter of announcing your arrival. You can either arrive on the station with a proper pomp and ceremony, or choose to visit incognito. Tell me in detail how these choices will benefit me. According to Footfall's unwritten laws, rogue traders enjoy special privileges that exceed even the power of the Liege. However, they may choose not to exercise those privileges in certain situations. Arriving incognito will give you more room for maneuver, while an official visit will allow you to directly intervene in local affairs. I shall explain if you do not mind. As per this unwritten rule, every rogue trader arriving at the station has the right to veto any of the Liege's decisions. But there is a catch. The Kronos Expanse is home to several influential rogue trader dynasties, and Footfall is where their interests intersect. Of course, that does not prevent certain persons, namely Caligos Winterscale, from subtly pulling the strings on Footfall. If you, as a new rogue trader, start your career with an official landing and a parade in your honor, the other dynasties may see this gesture as a newcomer challenging their spheres of influence. I do not see that as a bad thing necessarily. Old Man Winterscale may take slight offense. Porter will be put on her guard. We have just risen to prominence, and most people in the Kronos Expanse have not even heard about Lady Theodora's departure yet. It must be made clear that the banner of Von Valancius soars as high as ever. If I may, I would recommend arriving incognito. You have plenty of opportunities to savor the sweetness and the burden of power, but right now is the last time you can take refuge in obscurity. This way, your arrival will not draw much attention, and the people will treat you as a person, not the almighty sovereign anointed by the Emperor. It could turn some situations to your advantage. I have decided. Tell the Liege I will arrive officially, as the rogue trader. It will be done, Lord Captain. Victus bows again. With your gracious permission, I will return to my duties. I'm not going to skulk around in the shadows. Alright, I'm going to call it here, and next time we'll check out on everybody in the ship, and then head to Footfall. Or the planets around Footfall, then Footfall. But either way for now, thanks for watching. Hope to see you guys in the next one.